Hi there, and welcome to this video about perfectionism. It's taken me a long time to get here going live, so it's been a huge learning experience, but hopefully this will come out okay. So I wanted to talk about perfectionism because it is really common among people generally. So ask yourself whether you're a perfectionist. You might already know if you are. Are you the sort of person that has to have everything in your life just right before you're happy with it? Now, if you're driven to succeed, you'll obviously want whatever you do to be the best that it can be, and that's completely natural. But there is a difference between striving for perceived perfection and accepting being good enough. You sort of need to ask yourself, what is perfection anyway? If you think about how you're affected by perfectionism, because one person's idea of perfection can be really different from another person's. So, for example, you might have spent a long time refining something to get it to what you think is perfect, but it still might not be what somebody else feels is perfect. It just might not be their cup of tea. And that could mean that you've used up a huge amount of time, a huge amount of energy only to find that it isn't received in the way that you hope it is. And you could still end up feeling like a failure, which you absolutely are not. But if you're a perfectionist and something isn't completely well received, you can sometimes feel that way. Putting pressure on yourself to be perfect in your eyes really just leads to having unrealistic goals often. It leads to excessive stress, excessive anxiety, and ultimately that can all lead to overwhelm. And it keeps you stuck instead of allowing yourself to move forward in life and grow through learning. And perfectionism can also make it difficult to delegate tasks, whether that's at work or at home, because you tend to feel that other people wouldn't do it as well as you do. And that just adds to the burden of everything that you have to do rather than filtering it out to other people. And again, that can lead to overwhelm. And a perfectionist mindset can also lead to procrastination because you will potentially put things off if you feel that the situation isn't right, the circumstances aren't right, the time isn't right. But in reality, there's never a right time or a right situation. You just kind of have to get on with things. And that procrastination can stop you from doing things you really want to do. And it's okay because our minds are designed to keep us safe, and putting things off is a way of trying to keep us safe from potential failure. But it can lead to just not doing the things that we want to do. So if, for example, you want to maybe write a book, but you've got perfectionist tendencies and you feel that the time isn't right, or you haven't got your ideas formulated in the way that you want to, whatever the reason is, it is basically that fear of failure that is stopping you. But then if you don't get round to writing that book, or if you start it and then you don't put it out there when you finished it because of a fear of failure, it can leave you feeling frustrated. And it's kind of it's well, it's not exactly a waste of time having done it, but it's a waste of energy beating yourself up for not putting it out there because you know you want to. So it's a kind of a vicious circle that the perfectionism breeds. One thing that I find worth remembering is that taking imperfect action is better than taking no action at all if you want to get things done. And that's something that's really helped me. I just get out there and do it and put it out there, even though it's not perfect, as this video won't be perfect, but it's imperfect action. So if you want to understand your perfectionism, it can be really helpful to think about where it's come from. Now, often it can come from childhood, so you might need to think back quite a long way. And it might be a case of when you were a child, you were perhaps pushed by parents to achieve high grades or high sports results. You You might have been criticised for not matching up to parents or maybe teachers' expectations. You might have been adversely um, compared to siblings. And all of that might have conditioned you into feeling as if you are not good enough, and they can lead you to strive for perfection to avoid criticism in future. Now, you might not have had any of those experiences and still be a perfectionist. And sometimes it can come from low self esteem. And that tends to manifest in terms of comparing yourself adversely to others and feeling that you somehow fall short. So, as I say, it helps if you can find out where your perfectionism comes from, because that makes it easier to work on overcoming it. So if you think that your perfectionism comes from other people's expectations and opinions, it's really important to remember that they are only opinions. They're not facts, and you don't have to agree with them. And not everybody will agree with them anyway. If it comes from your own lack of self-esteem, again, that really is just created in your mind. It's your own thoughts, and thoughts can always be changed. Try and remember that you are good enough exactly as you are. You're the best that anybody ever could be at being you. There's nobody like you. And no one is born knowing how to do everything. Life is a learning process, and we do things, we try, we make mistakes, we learn from them, and we move forward. So if you would like to release perfectionism, one good way to start is by using affirmations. And a couple that I find helpful are: I release the need to be perfect. And another one is, I am good enough. Now, with affirmations, they've always got to be in the present tense. And I find it really helps me when I'm using affirmations to say them inwardly over and over and over again. Do that day after day after day, because then that goes into your subconscious mind. You might prefer to write them down, or you could do both. Um, I like to, if I've got a particular affirmation that I'm working on, I like to write it down and put it somewhere in a prominent place. So maybe on your kitchen notice board, maybe stick it on a post-it on the corner of your laptop, wherever you are going to see it regularly, so that you are always absorbing that message. So I'd just like to finish by saying that it's worth remembering, whenever you feel your perfectionist tendencies coming up, that you are perfectly imperfect, just like everybody else is, and that is completely okay. So I hope you find this helpful. Thank you for watching, and I'll be back with you soon. Bye for now.